How can one born in the pit of life's struggles see past their own existence? When you have naught but a brass penny to your name, what truth can you know save hunger or the desire to survive? Power breeds malfeasance. Your kings and queens squander lives like pawns on a chessboard. It is no wonder the darkness fills your heart so. Soon nothing will exist without the taint spreading like a wildfire. Most that can see it ignore it. They shut it in a box in the mind. But no box is closed forever. The mantle has fallen to me to right the world's wrongs. No other will combat it. No other will see it done. The pyramid of society must be rebuilt, brick by brick, stone by stone. But first, we must knock it all down. I'm sorry for what is to come, but before rebirth, there must be death.
It's been some time now since Tim Blades took me arm. Devnet the archer is dead. Most days after I curse the gods, but it seems they aren't done with me yet. Zav never gave up on me either. There in that tower I discovered that the strength in me archery was never in me arm but in me eye, and purpose sharpens me aim. Knives fly not as far as arrows, but more swiftly, one after another. So if you be thinking that Dev ain't what she used to be, well, you'll be right. I'm deadlier than I ever was. After I followed Zavas to where fate deemed we were most needed, she took us straight to our flame-haired doctor, still on the run from that Justicar, his men closing in fast. What is it about Oiri that drives a man to send 2 trained witchers to fetch her? And what did Dryden really intend? Those questions left me uneasy ever since. This little girl, she's important in a way that I can't see clear. More on that, she's my friend, and I belong here, with Zav standing between her and whatever danger lies ahead.
Battered, bruised, bloodied, but not broken. That is where Jute finds himself currently. A half-elf that never fit in, he struck out early in life to forge his own destiny. He joined a mercenary company and slowly over the years rose through the ranks, becoming the captain of the Black Company. Through tactical skill and naked ambition, the coffers of the company grew, and it wasn't until he made a fateful decision and didn't heed his own advice that the Black Company was destroyed. Now alone, he sets off on his own to rebuild the Black Company.
All right, let's get started. So this is episode 6 of No Peace Until Death, and I'm going to read a handout real quick where these two have been before. That's not the right one. Devnet, Jute, and Mr. Audrey make their way toward their newly acquired enemy's ship. It was the way off the mainland into Skellige, if they were lucky. The rain continues to fall, but the 2 old acquaintances march forward to their way out. They're outnumbered, but are they outmatched? And let me switch the scene. Alright, so you are walking as quick as you can for Mr. Otter to keep up, which is not particularly easy as he is an old and firm man. But he moves at a decent pace, someone that's been at the sea, maybe not quite as quickly as the two of you are hustling along. You see several ships out next to the dock, and he's just walking along behind you. I see it there, over there. Perhaps I'll stay behind while you go and take out our enemies.
Dev has been walking furiously this time. Her brows furrowed, or just a look of quiet rage on her face. It's not that she stops suddenly as if she just remembered that Mr. Audrey was even there. And she pauses for a minute and takes a deep breath. I'm out for blood, no mistake. But if there's a way to improve our odds before we get there, I think we need to take a moment and ponder on it.
I think you have the right of it, Dev. And he kind of looks at Mr. Audrey. What kind of numbers can we expect up on this ship?
Oh, I would say most are in port getting drunk. So I would say, not more than a half dozen.
So, if that be true, then we could find a way to maybe lure a few more of them off.
How do you propose doing such a thing?
Well, we do have a bit of bait. We know exactly what he wants.
Well, we also know that two skedaddled. Likely telling him right now that they failed.
Yeah, I expect him to know that he failed. Perhaps you know someone in town you could count on as a messenger to go to the ship. Tell him that the man in the black armor has procured what he wanted, but the price has gone up now that blood was shed. And to meet him at the inn, a place that in public that there'll be less possibility of shenanigans. At any rate, something that would get as many men off that ship, either accompanying him or to find him and give him the message.
I could start a rumor if that's what you mean.
Well, I would suggest that the messenger go to the ship and say, if you want your book, you have an hour to be at the inn. Doesn't need to be a rumor, just someone to pass a message. As a matter of fact, she looks over at Jute. If you know someone that you could point out, he could give them the message. It would be entirely authentic.
I see. I could do that.
Sounds good to me. I know I'm up for a good fight, but he looks down to Dev's missing arm. He goes, I don't know how much you are, regardless of how angry you seem to be right now.
She narrows her eyes at him and her lower lip juts out just a little bit. Did you see the man with a knife in his throat back there? Why don't you go ask him how I'm doing?
Well, I'll leave you to it. I will go deliver that message while you argue. Good day. And he turns and makes his way back out into town.
Well, I guess we wait here and see how successful he is in this little ruse of yours and go from
Devnet watches the little man leave, and she turns to face the ship that they're hoping to take. She settles down kind of behind some of those dock structures in the shadows to keep an eye on the ship. She seems to deflate a bit. Yeah, well, it would be nice to have my arm back at a time like this, but I don't.
Well, lucky for you, I'm here to lend a hand as he kind of nonchalantly leans up against one of the walls near Dev and crosses his arms and occasionally looks out to the ship and goes, so why do you want to get out here so bad? You told me earlier, but seems to be more to it.
The red-haired lass, Oiri, she needs to get somewhere safe, and I think Skellige is the safest place. No one's ever had the guts to really attack it, so I don't think that just a car that's pursuing her will even make the attempt.
Is that all? He kind of raises an eyebrow.
She looks at him like questioningly, like, what else would it be?
It is your home, after all, is it not?
She looks at him for a moment and kind of waves her hand dismissively. Oh, yes, and it always will be, but I get home every 6 months or so. It's always nice for the first few days, and then another ship pulls into dock, and I start asking myself, when will we leave? And after 87 years on this earth, there's still always some place I haven't been, something I haven't seen.
Jute kind of absorbs the information and tell me, Dev. She paying?
Oiri!
Of course.
She's paid up well in advance. She looks down at her shoulder. If she hadn't been there, brave enough to stand and treat me with the threat of death in her face, well, I wouldn't be standing here either.
Well, I guess that is a sort of payment after all, then. We wouldn't want world would be a little dimmer without Dev around. Kind of just gives a playful.
She smiles, just kind of with half of her mouth. Yeah, well, almost was a world without Dev in it. Not exactly sure why I'm even still here. I could have sworn that sword was going straight for my neck, but next thing I know, my arm was lying on the ground beside me. I should be dead. I asked myself for a long time why the gods had spared me, let me live, but were they punishing me? And it finally came to me that this was why. There's something about Oiri that needs to be protected.
Jute kind of laughs. He goes, punished? You know the great Jute Black. I would consider that a blessing of the gods myself.
Well, you can think of it that way until you have brush with death as close as that one, I think. I want to be in Valhalla someday, but I don't think they're done with me yet.
Well, I don't want you to see it running off too soon, so why don't you stay behind me and let me do the heavy lifting today?
I'm not going to let you have all the fun, she says, kind of caressing the knives at her side. If the gods want me to live, then I will. But if not, I'm going to die doing something that I'm good at.
You sure? And he kind of picks up on her anger. You sure Zav is worth this?
She kind of jerks her face upward at that. Sparks of anger coming back to her eyes. Zav's been with me for nigh on 60, more than 60 years now. Been beside me through thick and thin. And besides that, he's clan. You don't turn your back on clan, and you do what you can to avenge him when you must.
I don't remember him sticking around the Black Company when you were with us.
Will, he's not one for the Black, trust me. He's principled in his own way. And he was busy with other pursuits at the time. And it was always I who left. Because, well, those things don't particularly interest me.
I Fine principles tend to get in the way of a good profit and a good time, but to each their own.
Well, I find that you can find a way to have a wee bit of fun, whether your pockets are lined with coin or not, but it can help, I admit that.
Jute just kind of shrugs at that. I suppose.
As you guys are talking and watching, you see a man walk out to the ship. Just looks like a typical person in town, probably. And then after a few minutes later, walks back onto the dock, and there's 2 men with him that walk along the dock back towards town with him. Quite in a hurry, actually.
Can we tell by the gait whether one of them, because Hayden has a peg leg?
Yeah, it wasn't Hayden for sure.
Okay. Devnet thinks maybe he's not on the ship then. How far out from the dock is it?
You're just.
You have to swim to get to.
No. Oh, it's docked. It's right next to the dock. It's has a gangplank. You could walk up and down. You do see that there is at least one man standing outside, right around the gangplank next to a barrel, kind of cleaning his teeth, eating an apple.
Well,
All
if
right.
those individuals ran and informed their boss of their failure, their security and discipline sure as lax. They don't look like they're expecting us, which I suppose is a good.
I think this is our window. This is when we act. See that fella out front? Well, I think you're relatively safe from him, and that she knocks on his armor. Turtle shell you're in. Perhaps you can walk up to him, keep him from shouting out an alarm, and I'll try to take him from behind. Not that you couldn't mow through him, but that might give the men inside more time to assemble.
Sounds good to me. Just remember, there's always the chance to fall back if we're grossly outnumbered.
And she just kind of snorts and points at the guy on guard. And then she kind of taps herself on the chest and starts to walk away like she's going to start stealthing around.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In that case, Jute will do the opposite and approach, if it's possible, from the opposite way to kind of get his attention, to allow her an opportunity to come in from behind.
Yeah, and let me get a map out here. Get you away from that bloodbath.
What was the name of the boat by?
What was his boat name? I do not remember. So you can make
Jolly
it up.
Rogers.
No, I don't think it was that, but sure.
The Freebird.
The Wave Runner, we'll say. All right, there it is.
All right. So I don't know if we need to roll for initiative yet, but I think Dev is going to try to head this way pretty fast, but keeping far back enough that she's not making a lot of noise. If she needs to, she'll stealth the whole way.
Go ahead and
anyway,
go ahead and
go around the building until she ends up around here.
Yeah,
and
just
waits
go
for
ahead
Jude
and go all that way, and then just give me a stealth roll.
As she's doing that, Jute will kind of walk up this way and give her a little time to get in position as he's slowly approaching the buck.
Alright, I see that. Give me one sec. Why is it doing that? Oh, because I'm in the wrong button. Yeah, he doesn't seem to notice you, Dev, as you kind of circle around behind him. He's just looking down. He kind of looks up at Jute. Who's that? What you want?
Oi, tell me, is this the Wave Runner?
This is the Wave Runner?
Yeah, as he's got his attention, Dev is just gonna move forward into immediate range and throw a knife at his neck.
Yeah, you can coup de grace him like that.
Do you want me to roll?
Nah.
Okay, this is just effective enough. All right, so yeah, she throws and catches him right in the throat, and he starts to gurgle on his own blood and fall. She reaches out and grabs the knife out of his neck as he's falling and stabs him again, just to be sure.
Yeah, it just goes, the peers. Jute's looking at him, and the, point of the dagger comes out as Adam's apple, and then quickly he kind of falls over on his side as you just continue to stab him to death.
Jute just continues talking as she's doing this. He goes, I hear you guys are looking for a few extra hands, and why I love the open sea. And
yes. Well, as Dev, in a slight frenzy as she's doing this, kind of stops, catches herself, comes back to the present. She pulls out the knife, wipes a streak of blood on her cheek, and then she nods at Jute, points to the ship.
Jute kind of smiles and just like old times, and then as she wipes the blood on her face and goes, ugh, I never did enjoy that much. Well, shall we? And then he just kind of leads up on the gangplank to the boat.
Yeah, Dev will scurry ahead of him and then find a place to the side to kind of take point on looking down the ship while Jute moves forward. If anyone comes up at the sound, she'll be ready maybe over here to ambush.
Yeah, you see, you're kind of on the lower level, and on each side there are raised parts of the ship. On each side you think there's people above. You can kind of see, it didn't look like they're noticing anything. They're doing something up. You would have to climb up there to see exactly what, but nobody seemed to notice you, and there doesn't seem to be anyone just on this level quite yet. There is a space where you can go down, stairs that go down, and then there's like a cabin in the front. A door.
I would take the top stairs to get up where the boatswain is.
That's where you're gonna head towards that.
Up there?
Yeah, the boatswain's up here.
Which one do both of these cabins over here look equally fancy? Which one looks like the captain's quarters? This one, that's usually where the captain is, right?
you would think so. It's got an actual, a door. Down here is probably the hold and, the sailors' quarters. A bunch of hammocks, probably.
And she'd think that was the guy to go for first too, if he's especially near the cabin.
Yeah, he's just up on the top doing something. It could be that he wouldn't even see you if you went in that room. It's hard to say.
Well, Jute, seeing that no alarm has been raised or anybody seems to be approaching them, seeing where the door to the cabin is, or the captain's quarters is most likely to be, just kind of nods and heads that way, acting nonchalantly, not trying to draw any suspicion.
Yeah, as he does that, Dev, I think, keeps her distance, kind of keeping to the shadows, so that if anyone does notice him, their attention's on him and not her.
Yeah, why don't you both roll me stealth?
Which one's that under?
Dex.
Is that Dex?
Dex.
That's pretty good for all
That's
that armor.
nice. Jeez, yeah. Impressive.
Yeah, you both get up here towards the door, and you hear the boatswain singing a sea shanty. He doesn't appear to have seen you or heard you in any way.
As they approach the door, he kind of like loosens the sword on his scabbard, ready to go in and see what's in there. Kind of gives a little motion to Jute, or not Jute, excuse me, Dev, and waits to see if she's...
Yeah, Dev will walk over here and she'll kind of open the door. It looks like it opens away from Jute, so she'll open it that direction kind of for him so that he doesn't have to mess with that as he's going forward.
Yeah, one sec. Where is it? Okay. You open the door, and there's a small lantern lit inside. There's a man standing, seated at a desk. He looks up in surprise. What is this?
Excuse me,
Devnet
but
will rush in and shut the door. Muzzle him.
Jute, without answering her, just kind of pulls his sword and goes straight for him, because that's the captain's name.
Hey, no, she said muzzle him, as in keep him quiet. But this is hate him.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. If you're gonna just try to close a distance before he can yell, that would probably be a athletics and dexterity.
Alrighty.
You won a 14. You can use luck, just so you know. Luck adds +1 to your roll for each one you use.
I'm gonna hold out on that right
Okay.
now.
Yep, got it. He goes to yell, and how do you keep him from?
He just rushes him quickly and does a fist in his stomach to knock the air out, and a hand over his mouth, the other one, and just kind of presses him against, the table or the back of his chair. Right up to him. Shut your mouth, or I'll fucking gut you.
All right, Tatum. Definitely, draws her favorite. Well, actually, she draws her poignard, and she takes its long, sharpened tip and pokes it into his stomach. You stop trying to be so noisy, Tatum. We don't want company. It'll just make me more upset.
He just kind of nods.
Now, my friend here is gonna take his hands off your mouth. But if you make any noise, and she just takes the poignard and pokes it, drawing blood from underneath his shirt, this is going directly into your heart.
He nods.
Jute draws his sword, and then after that, I'll chop your head off. And he kind of keeps his free hand on, on his shoulder, right by his collarbone, to keep him in place.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's apt to move.
Jute just kind of looks to Dev to let her take it from there.
Yeah, she looks over to Hayden. So how many men does it take to actually sail a ship out of harbor?
Is he unhanded, so to speak? As in, can he speak?
Yeah, he allows, Jute will allow him to speak.
I would say 10 men for a ship of this size, if that's what you mean.
So these men would have to be replaced. She starts looking at around the room for rope. Since it's a ship, I'm assuming she'll find some
Oh
rope.
yeah, there's definitely rope in here. Now before you get all excitable, you can make a deal with old Hattem. We just wanted the rudders.
I will. When I left my friend, he wasn't looking too good.
Oh, well, I do know a fine healer. An old woman.
We'll find a fine healer of our own in Skellige.
Oh. You are with Mr. Aldry then. He's going to give you his rudders so you can make it to Skellige.
Got to get there one way or another, and it's not going to be by swimming.
Well, I think you would do best to come with old Mr. Hattem.
You've never even been to Skellige.
Neither
You'll
is
likely
he.
break yourself up on the rocks. Oh, really? Well then, how's he got such a detailed picture of the coast?
Well, he stole it from me, of course. As I told you.
Devnet narrows her eyes and looks at him. She thinks about the way back to Skellige. Tries to think of a landmark that you would pass at a certain point. You know,
like a rock or
when
something. Yeah.
when
Rock
you're,
of Gibraltar.
when you're half a mile out of Skellige and you're just in sight of the bay at and she names like the main port there, which I don't know off the top of my head.
That's fine.
What is it that you see sticking up out of the water?
1 second, let's see.
And I'll say it's like the remains of this ancient shipwreck that just has never fallen through. Or
Can you do an awareness roll to see if he's bullshit?
Yeah, you can do a human perception roll. That's what that is. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Yeah, if you guys want to do human perception rolls, and Devnet, you can give yourself like a +5. Yeah, well, there's a lot of reef in that area. Fallen rock and such, I think. I don't usually go that way, go a different route.
You've been to Skellige, but you haven't been to the biggest port there.
Oh, illicit dealings, you see, lass. Why would I go to the biggest port when there's illicit dealings?
This is bullshit. You've never been there. Admit it. If you have been there, describe the place you have been.
Oh, Rocky Cove, why do you let this woman talk to me so? You look like a man that likes coin. I have plenty of it. Why don't you silence this harlot and work for me?
Devnet looks over at Jute and almost laughs.
Plenty of coin. Can tell you where I buried it.
Or I could just torture it out of you and take it anyway, but you'll be wise not to call her that again. He kind of gives him a little shake for good measure.
No. Fine. What is it you want from me?
I've been thinking on it here while you've been shaking in your boots. And I think I know. I want you to stick your head out of that door and you tell your men that they need to go collect the other men and tell them that you think one of your men is out passed out somewhere. Anyway, send them somewhere that they're not going to come back soon.
So you can kill me here? Why would I do that? How about I go with them and I take them off the ship with me?
Are you mad?
Some say I am.
Can any of your men swim?
They can all swim, they're sailors.
So if we tie them up and we throw them overboard, if they want to save him, they're going to have to leave the ship.
Me? Throw me over?
What do you think, Jake?
Complicated. Murder sometimes simplifies things.
Aye, just kill them all.
You're not going to kill all my men. I have 10 men down in the hold.
That's it? Oh, you're in trouble.
Oh.
How about this?
Well,
We
2 of
let
my
you
men
live.
came down here and told me that you were not of much account on the fighting end. A one-armed lass. Well, I'll just have my men kick you overboard and you're just drowned.
Well, your men may be less apt to be taking orders from you once you're dead. Which you will be the minute you say something like that. And then once you're dead, well,
You
do you
think
really think they're going to want to stick around for a fight? When instead they can split up the booty that's on the ship?
I think they'll come and they'll cut you down. That's what I think. But you make your decision.
Devnet. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, your life or your boat, it's a fair trade.
Well, how do I know that you'll honor that trade?
A man is only as good as his word, and I give you my word.
Psh. I'm a man of the sea, that means nothing. Come up with a way for me to exit this ship gracefully, and you can have it with all the men on board. I'll even transfer ownership to you from the other side of the gangplank.
Jute looks at Dev. I gave him my word. I'll go with it.
Devnet looks at Hayden with just murder in her eyes. You can tell she was hoping that one way or another they would end up doing violence upon this guy. But she instead kind of sucks the air in through her teeth. Fine. Get him out of my face.
As you're talking, there's a sudden, bang on the door. Captain, Captain, there's trouble out. There's trouble, there's trouble.
Jute kind of gives him a look like, if you want to die, go ahead and scream for help.
Says, what's the trouble? And something on shore. The village, they're running. He looks over to Jute and, we'll be out. I'll be out in a second.
Jute kind of lowers his sword and looks at Dev and goes, not a word, or you'll be the first one to die. Let's go see what this trouble's about.
Tell them you're gonna take off. Go see what the trouble's about, and that they should take the ship over to, and the area that's would be docked by Arden.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want me to go out there alone and tell them that excuse me, I'm not sure what you want me to do.
I'll be with you, don't worry.
I need enough men on the ship to sail it, remember, and they need to think that you're acting under your own.
Oh, of course, yes. Well, come on, lad. Let's go see what the fuss is.
Jute kind of gives Dev a concerning look like, why are villagers running, but goes ahead and agrees. And we're just taking it over to a different dock or wharf is essentially what you're proposing.
Is there a wharf that's close to Arden's house? Basically, we'd go there and pull up in their driveway.
Or yeah, just like throw anything, get a rowboat out essentially.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you could dock off the coast. I don't think there would actually be a dock there, but I mean, it's not very far. This is a small town. But yeah, you can move the ship off into the water closer to that guy's house if you wanted. Okay. So he pushes the door open. He's like, "With me then, with me." He looks to Devnet and walks out the door. Okay, to the docks. I'm sorry, to the boat. And this guy's pointing out off the side of the ship, look there, look there. And Jute, you see people running randomly, like away from the village along the coast, just screaming. And he turns, that's quite strange. And he walks over to you can see he's kind of very curious to what's going on. He goes over the rail and like leans over and is looking.
Do you have enough men to sail on board?
Oh, it would be a difficult sail, but yes, we could make do. 10 in the hold, as I said. He smiles. He gives you that smile, you know he's full of shit.
Jute looks out to see if they're running from. Are they panic running? Or
Oh,
are they
they're
running
definitely
from
panicked
specific?
running.
Any sign of Mr. Audrey?
No.
Mr. Audrey has the book, doesn't he?
He does. As you're looking out onto the road, you see, you think you see something. You do not know what the hell it is, but it looks like a person, but maybe not. I don't know. It is running. You see it grab someone, pick the person up, and just slam them down on its knee, breaking their back, and then just flinging the body into the water.
Jute looks at him and
Oh, by Poseidon!
tell your men to get ready to cast off.
I think that's a fine deal. And you, Dev, you're hearing like him. Drop the sail, push off now! Drop the gangplank! Let's go, we're going!
Jute hollers for Dev to come out.
Dev, hearing this, immediately opened the door and looked around to see what was going on. Seeing that Chute was still near Hatem, obviously the tables hadn't turned or anything. She looks around to see what the fuss is about, runs over to Jute.
Yeah, you
Jute
mostly
kinda-
see.
Why
just,
are we casting off?
Jute points his sword to the golem or whatever monstrosity that is. He goes, what the fuck is going on here?
You just see people running and a few of these things walking down the road after them. If they catch any of them, they immediately kill them in the most horrifying way you can imagine. Punching through their heads, breaking their necks, just...
Oh, by Freya. Yes, cast off. Let's try to make it back to Arden so that we can get Zavis.
I'm not going next to that coast, and I don't think you'll have any of my men doing that either. He looks at you and he's like, we're going out to sea. These devils won't catch us out there.
Maybe they aren't even over there.
We'll swing by there and check.
Well, if you get off this boat, that's up to your business, but I won't be doing so.
Jute, kind of being close to him, leans up. I told you what the deal was, your life. You will swing by there and stop, and we will see if it is safe.
Oh,
Do you understand?
I will... as long as I'm not docked and I'm not going ashore, it's your grave. Dig it yourself. And he nods. Down the coast a bit. We'll take a look, boys. And about a half dozen men are like struggling to get the pretty big ship ready to go. It's a slow process with the skeleton crew.
Dev, not really having sailor skills, but having been on many, many ships, does the simple things she can. Like, she probably knows what the terminology is for things that they need.
Jude stays right next to Haddam because he trusts him as far as he can throw him.
Yeah, it takes probably at least 15 minutes to get moving, if not longer. And
how many men come up from the...
probably 4.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the other ones that were on the deck in various locations. They're hustling around. Haddam gets behind the wheel and begins pulling away. We have to make this turn over here. There's some rocks. And he kind of swings out a little bit and then back. And then he's like, cast the anchor! And you can kind of see all the rows of homes out there before you. And you vaguely kind of see where Mr. Audrey's house is. Kind of on the beach there. He's like, this is as close as we need to go, or can go for that matter. If you wish to take a sailboat, you can have one of ours. He points to one. And you're looking, and you look in, and you don't see... You see, like, the tail end of villagers running past, and you're trying to get a good idea of where Mr. Audrey's house, and you think you see it, and you don't see anyone there. On the outside, on the inside, you don't.
Well, Dev would look down at, like, they have like a rowboat.
Yeah, there's a rowboat. Mm-hmm.
If we made him or asked him, I don't know how you want to phrase it, to have 2 of his sailors take the sailboat in, would that effectively cripple his ability to navigate the ship with such a, like, even more skeleton?
I mean, it would be hard, for sure. I mean, you're not a sailor, so it's hard for you to exactly say, but, I mean, they were having trouble with the few they had, but...
Have him send some of his men with me to row me to shore and to take me back.
He looks at Haddam.
He's, I don't know that any of these men will go in there after seeing that. You could kill them here, and I think they would rather be dead.
There's none of them around the house, and as soon as there's any sign of trouble...
These are sailors, man. They're superstitious lot.
That's why they're rowing and not fighting. And that's why I'm not telling you to come.
He grabs one of the men by the shoulders. Row these fools back in. Stay in the boat. Don't be a fool.
Maybe you should stay here. If I'm just rowing, I'll be fine. I just need to see what's going on. You could make sure that the ship's still here when I get back.
Jude kind of...
Actually, shit. She looks down at her arm and just shakes her head. Fuck. I can't row the fucking boat.
See Haddam smiling.
I don't really want to leave Dev behind, but Jude, are you sure you're going to be okay by yourself? Can you speak Elven to her?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys can speak up.
He'll switch over to that. Are you sure you want to be here by yourself?
She walks up to Haddam and she just kind of keeps her hand on her poniard. We'll be fine, and we'll stay nice and close to the edge here.
Very well. I'll be back in a jiffy.
She reaches out, kind of pointing her poniard then at Jute. Hey, I mean it. Go back there and find him. Don't...
I will.
It's important to me. And she looks around. If something happens, make sure you get Irie somewhere safe, please.
I will, I promise. And if I need you guys to leave me behind, you'll...
I'm not going anywhere, she says, and just kind of settles
Well,
down.
then why
next
don't
to
you go
Hayden.
out there with your man and help him?
Because then you'll not be here when we get back. And I need to get to Skellige.
Well, there's other boats to steal. I would say that Mr. Audrey is dead anyway. The rudders are gone. Find another captain that can take you to Skellige. I couldn't do it anyway. You have to get the book. You said it yourself. I don't know the way.
Devnet shakes her head. I suppose it just wasn't meant to be. Alright then. She tell him to prepare one of the rowboats.
He pushes a man and he goes, walks over and starts untying it from the side of the ship.
Jute waits for it to get ready and then heads down, helping Dev get it.
You know, Dev will kind of take Hayden down with her as she's getting ready to get down in the rowboat. And she looks up at him and she says, you know, you're real lucky that I need to make it to the shore to help my friend. That's the only reason you're still breathing.
Yes, well, it is both our fortunate days then.
Just extremely frustrated that she can't sink her knife right into his smug face. She swallows it and sits down into the boat, watching him carefully, one hand poised with a throwing knife in case he decides to shout something.
He just holds his hands up.
You'll get no problems from me.
Jute in Elvish kind of whispers to Dev as they're getting ready to disembark. He goes, you can always throw a knife at him as we row away. Kind of laugh.
Ah, they've got fucking crossbows. Normally I'd agree, but I can't take any chances on this. If those things are running around, well, Zav's in no condition to fight him off.
Very well.
At least
With that,
Oh, sorry.
we'll save your vengeance for another day. Jute kind of helps push off and starts rowing.
She kind of smiles at him, a cold little smile. That's the nice thing about being our kind is you've got plenty of time to make sure that you accomplish what you really want to.
Kind of laughs, and for the record, you owe me big. Did you see what those things were in town? And we're now rowing back to shore.
And she thinks about that for a second, a little sheepish. I suppose you are really putting your neck out there with no real profit to be made from it.
I'll get my payment, don't worry.
She just kind of scoffs a little bit, shakes her head, smiling. This is not the time to be thinking about that.
As you turn over your shoulder, you're pretty far away now, and Hadam's leaning against the rail, and he's got a crossbow in his hands, and he's aiming it at you, but he never fires. He just kind of tracks you as you're going away, and you can hear him, "You'll be dead soon enough anyway, boys, let's go!" And they start hauling up the anchor, and the ship slowly starts moving out to sea.
Well, there's no going back now.
I had no illusions that he was really going to be there.
So,
If the gods were with us, then there would be a Skellige ship in harbor.
As you lament that, you come up to shore, and you're able to run the rowboat to ground there. There's nobody around. You hear the screaming down south quite a ways. You don't see any of those things. You don't see any people. You kind of make your way up towards the road towards Mr. Audrey's house.
Jute, sword drawn, kind of, the crouch, cautious run. Let's be quick about this.
She just looks at him and nods, her heart in her mouth, worried that they're going to find the corpses of Zavis and Irie as they approach the house.
You do see something on the ground, a few things. Several dead bodies, it looks like. Some from when you left, you recognize, like the dude that was killed that was fighting Zavis. There's more, though, more than that.
These are fresh.
Wait. Okay, so these look like they're corpses I've seen before?
Well,
is what
from
you're
the
saying?
fight earlier, there were a couple.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay. Oh, these guys. Okay. Well, these ones got what was coming to them. She seems kind of frantic as she goes from body to body. The darkness making it hard to tell
Yeah.
who's who until you get close.
Yeah, it's starting to get like nighttime. You head up on these into the walls there. Can you see in there? I don't know if there's.
I can see 3 flesh columns.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, you see. You come up there and you see 3 of those creatures, but all of them are beheaded. And they're dead. You don't see Zavis. You don't see Ari. You see a few of the dead that from your previous fight that were killed in this yard. But, yeah, you don't see any sign of them. When you peek inside, there's a little cat sitting on the table, just looking at you.
Has Devnet found anybody's belongings? Like, did Zavis, drop his pack or anything?
Not you, no.
No. No, then he... Seems like they would have left it if he was dead. I don't know what to make of this. She looks around for footprints in the muddy rain, but...
Yeah, let's see. What would that be a good roll for?
I was just going to say, see if there was...
Yeah, it is raining, so...
Yeah.
What would be a good roll? Let's see. Wilderness survival.
Yeah, it's wilderness survival, I would think.
Sure.
Alrighty then. Any modifiers or anything?
You can get a +3. So 18 for you. You did a plus. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, just put a 3 in when you're doing a positive number. So that would be a 14, 16. Yeah, okay, 19. Yeah, you both. There's a lot of traffic in the yard, right? From the fighting earlier, from people stampeding through this area, so it's a little tough to tell. But one thing that stands out is there's hoof prints, just one set of them. You saw no horses here. You saw this place is not a place where there would be many of that. There's no stables. This is a very fishing-based town, so it's kind of out of place. It heads actually north and then kind of around the house and back away.
Well, Zav's not here, and the only thing that walked away from this is that, she says, pointing to the hooves that,
Yeah.
Jute's also down near the mud exam.
I suppose we follow these and be quick about it before more of these things, and he kind of nudges one, decides to come back this way.
Aye, and the rain will wash this trail out eventually. So let's get at it. She just starts kind of jogging, head hunched over, trying to keep her eyes on the horse tracks in the fading light.
Yeah, you head along this trail for what it's worth. You get towards the edge of town, and it seems to hook up with the road back towards the east. As you look in the darkness, and knowing that it's going to be harder and harder to follow this trail at night. And as that happens, the screen is going to fade to black as you look out onto the road, wondering where they have gone.